Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on Our News, COVID order violators can apply to have breaches removed from their police record. Could the country be in for tighter COVID restrictions? And a Dorian survivor's emotional discovery. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, the Rehabilitation of Offenders Committee is opening the application process for anyone interested in having emergency order breaches removed from their police record. Chairman Paul Farquharson says this applies to anyone who was taken before the court or cited for breaching the orders enforced during the pandemic.
The committee will deal with these matters expeditiously or as quickly as we can to make sure that we bring relief to some of these persons who have contravened or appear before the magistrate and have been fined.
Hundreds of Bahamians have been fined or even arrested for numerous COVID-19 breaches, including staying out past curfew or during lockdowns and selling goods like coconut water on the side of the road. They now have the opportunity to apply to the Ministry of National Security on New Providence or the Administrator's Office on the Family Islands.
In the applications, there are persons who have been fined. Even though they have been fined, there's still a record appearing on their criminal record. On the police record. And therefore, those matters also will be dealt with by the committee.
At the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, people found violating the emergency order were brought before the courts. The order was later changed to allow police to issue tickets instead. Meanwhile, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville responding to the former health minister's call for the government to consider tighter COVID-19 restrictions. Dr. Darville says while that's not currently on the Davis administration's agenda, officials won't rule it out if it becomes necessary. Jasmine Brown reports.
The new health minister says the fact of the matter is Dr. Sands' comments are not falling on deaf ears, as he says the Davis administration will do what it must to clamp down on those COVID-19 cases.
We feel at this particular time we are okay to the point that we do not need to bring restrictions back to where they are. But I can say this much, we're watching it extremely closely, and in the event that we feel that we need to execute more measures, we will.
The Bahamas has been struggling with an unprecedented surge in COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths during the third wave. Over the weekend, the country recorded yet another grim milestone, pushing the country's COVID-19 death toll to over 600. The Davis administration has promised to end the state of emergency when it expires next month. Darville says that is still the plan.
Plans are on the way to move the whole concept of the competent authority back to where it belongs at the Ministry of Health. We believe that we can handle measures without the emergency orders, and we will be laying regulations very shortly when we begin to go back to Parliament.
The Health and Wellness Minister added what also needs to happen is heightened surveillance.
That is something the Minister of National Security and myself is looking very closely at, because you release restrictions and you expect people to function and to abide by the public health measures. And when we look, people are doing what they want to do.
On Friday, the former health minister called for the government to consider drastic restrictions. Even though cases have dropped, Dr. Sands pointed out that hospitals remain overwhelmed and COVID-19 infections are continuing at an unprecedented rate.
I'm listening to what the former minister is saying, and we're taking it into consideration. The numbers are going down, but we do have a problem at the tertiary healthcare level, because we feel that individuals who are positive may be coming to the institution a little bit too late, and we need to try to initiate therapies before they begin to decompensate and start to have severe respiratory symptoms.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
VAT reduction legislation will be one of the first items on the Davis administration's legislative agenda. Prime Minister Philip Davis made the revelation while speaking to reporters following the National Honors Ceremony on Monday.
We know that we have to meet certain commitments. It may not necessarily require legislative intervention. For example, the VAT reduction requires that, so that'll be one of the first items we put on the agenda.
Some critics have questioned how government will make up for the revenue shortfall brought on by reducing VAT. Davis was asked whether his government would have to put off any of its commitments due to the state of the country's finances.
We have not arrived at a decision yet. I don't intend to put off any of my commitments. I intend to see how we can work with what we have to get our commitments fulfilled.
Well, a church has been ordered to elect an executive council in order to determine who the next senior pastor will be. The ruling comes after certain members had a major disagreement over the appointment of a pastor by the outgoing leader. Jared Higgs has the details.
The matter stems back to a disagreement between factions of the Golden Gates World Outreach Ministries over who should be its next senior pastor. Back in 2020, Bishop Rawson Davis, who led the church since 2001, attempted to appoint his son, Trent Davis, to the post. A pastoral board made up of 7 pastors opposed the move, even disrupting a church service to get their point across. Davis hired a lawyer and claimed that the pastoral board cannot make resolutions that could determine who was appointed as senior pastor because they are not part of the church's executive committee. The pastoral board, on the other hand, asks a court to determine which members make up the church's executive committee and to examine their evidence to determine whether a senior pastor could be thrust upon the organization.
He has ruled that they must go back and then there must be an election and the church would then elect the executive council. And out of that council would there then be the executive committee, being the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. Of course, the president ought to be as well the pastor.
Attorney Ramona Farquharson Seymour, who represents the pastoral board, says it is crucial now that the different factions in the church move forward based on the ruling. She says those who still hold the view that Bishop Davis's actions were valid are now mistaken.
Based on this decision, that is in fact not the case.
Farquharson Seymour says although the court found that the church operated in a particular mode, that mode was inconsistent with the church's articles of association. She says if any faction of the church should find itself not following the court's decision, they'll find themselves back before the courts.
If the election process is not fair, and when I say fair, does not accord to the memorandum and articles, more than likely one grouping you may find will very well go before the courts and file, and then we would be in another legal battle.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
It is unclear exactly when the Bahamas will get its third tranche of donated vaccines from the United States next month. It comes as the vaccine committee announced the suspension of the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine until further notice.
I'm being told that the process is in play. As you are aware, they were donations of vaccines from the United States, and not only for the Bahamas, but the entire region. We are close and cannot give a date at this particular time, but we will definitely receive those vaccines.
Darville says he is pleased with how the vaccination program is going. He was asked about vaccinations at the Department of Corrections, where cases have been reported.
The only thing I could say is we started the process. It's a tedious process because of the security aspect, but it's going quite well, and I think we completed our first tranche, and we're looking to go back in short order to do what we have to do to get the prisons and the prisoners sorted out because they live in a tight community.
Thunderstorms last night gave way to partly sunny skies today. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the latest.
Thanks, Christina. Welcome everybody for your first look at weather on this Tuesday, the day after the National Heroes Day. Outside our studios, we are humid, temperatures in the low to mid 80s, 82 right now, partly cloudy skies. Your winds out of the northeast at 6 knots, and your field select temperature in the mid 80s. Satellite view, that low pressure system across the southeast Bahamas dragging some moisture across our area Muggy conditions, some showers and thunderstorms in the forecast tonight. We expect more of that tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, still no sign of a missing jet skier on Abaco. And a COVID health team sent to Inagua amid a spike in cases. Find out more after this.
Affordable, reliable internet connectivity is more crucial than ever. It's how we work, play, and connect to the people we love. That's why Cable Bahamas Group of Companies is the leader in enabling connected lifestyles and experiences. So we've created a campaign called Connecting People Who Care.
Here's how it works, exactly how it sounds. We've chosen 3 nonprofits who utilize Cable Bahamas services: the Bahamas Red Cross, Hands for Hunger, and Bahamas Harvest Church. Each of these groups has chosen a hero within their organization. The organization and hero to receive the most votes will be eligible for 6 months of free services, and our hero will be eligible for $5,000 in cash and prizes.
For more information or to vote for the person or organization you love, visit rev.bs/Connecting People Who Care.
Our winner will be announced live on Facebook during the week of Thanksgiving.
Still no sign of an Abaco man who went missing last week while riding a jet ski. His distraught family is pleading with the public to come forward with any information they may have. Giorgio Bain reports.
The family members of Rashad Cooper are heartbroken this evening after the 30-year-old went missing following an evening of jet ski riding with friends, and now they're asking for your help in any way possible.
He wasn't on a jet ski by himself. He didn't know on a jet ski. He didn't even know. He didn't have a jet ski to ride. So who do we blame? Who takes accountability?
30-year-old Rashad Cooper was reportedly riding jet skis with friends near Dundastown last week when his jet ski malfunctioned. Friends say they left Cooper and the jet ski to a key to get help, but when they returned, he was gone.
They said the jet ski stalled out. He tied it to a key or a big, it looked like a rock, but they said it's a little key. He tied the jet ski there. And they told them, don't move, we coming back, we going for a boat. It was 3 of them in total. He would made the number 3. And the other 2 guys went to get a boat.
Cooper's niece, Ashni Lewis, says Abaco residents initially helped with search efforts, but they feel it wasn't treated as a priority by police.
They just hand over the possessions as if, here, this is all we get, until we could give you all something else. No explanation, anything.
Police released a missing persons report. However, there remains no sign of the jet ski rider. Meanwhile, the family also questions a series of events that reportedly led to Cooper's disappearance.
Why Shadi could jump off that rock to jump in a water full of sharks if he ain't familiar with the waters? I know I ain't gonna do it. It's good swimmer or not, because I know my boy's caring for that boat. So tell me why. Tell me, does that make sense to you? You tell me that.
Worried relatives gathered around his mother, Eleanor Hepburn, who fought back tears as she made this plea.
I don't know what to say. All I need to see my baby. His body. If I could see his body.
We want Shadi home. Dead or alive, we just want him home.
Reporting for our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
In other news, a team from the Ministry of Health has been sent to Inagua to look into a recent spike in COVID-19 cases on that island, according to Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville.
Yeah, the situation in Inagua, as far as we're concerned, is being monitored very closely. Over the weekend, there was some concerns at the possibility of quarantine not being maintained, and the fact that there's an ongoing immigration matter on the island where some of the police officers that are responsible for quarantine is focusing on that situation. A team was sent in yesterday, which is 3 doctors and a nurse, and an assessment is being done again, and my assessment this morning has indicated that it appears to still be a cluster of infection, but further work needs to be done to get the exact situation that's on the island in hand.
As of October 8th, there were 23 active cases on Inagua and 34 people in quarantine, according to the Ministry of Health. 5 people from the island had to be airlifted to New Providence for care, and 2 people who contracted COVID on Inagua have died in recent days. 2 additional people from Inagua died after contracting the virus on New Providence. Darville insists the recent spike in cases is not linked to the illegal migrants who were detained on that island before being repatriated.
There's a lot of possible scenarios. I've heard that scenario. I've heard the fact that a loved one went to Nassau to do some personal business and come back. And with these kind of infections, sometimes it may be very difficult to actually pinpoint. But I can tell you this much. It is a case of an individual who was in Nassau, or individuals that came back to Inagua and subsequently came in contact with loved ones, and we developed a cluster of infection for COVID-19.
Well, Minister of Tourism Chester Cooper confirming that the Davis administration has no immediate plans to change vaccine requirements for cruise visitors or to eliminate the travel health visa for international trips. The Progressive Liberal Party promised the total elimination of the travel health visa on the campaign trail. Cooper says while the government still intends to keep that promise, it has to do so responsibly.
We've ended the domestic travel health visa already. As you know, we have made the travel visa free of charge for Bahamians coming from abroad. We are not yet at a point where we are minded to eliminate the international element of the travel visa. We're monitoring it in a responsible way to determine the timeline of doing so.
Cooper says the government is monitoring the COVID-19 situation to determine the timeline for the complete elimination of the travel visa for Bahamians and residents. However, he notes that health officials have received critical data through travel health requirements.
Many persons who come to our shores test positive in the 5-day test, and we know that a large percentage of those persons who test positive are actually Bahamians. So we want to continue the effective controls that the travel health visa system helps us to bring in terms of managing the incidences of positive cases coming to our country.
The government has discontinued the requirement for travel health visas for domestic travel. As for the vaccine requirement for cruise passengers, Cooper says there will definitely be an extension.
We are taking action to extend that to 2022.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news returns, a woman's wedding dress recovered and restored 2 years after Hurricane Dorian. And Mike Strawn and the Colts suffer a tough loss. The details when our news returns.
Affordable, reliable internet connectivity is more crucial than ever. It's how we work, play, and connect to the people we love. That's why Cable Bahamas Group of Companies is the leader in enabling connective lifestyles and experiences. So we've created a campaign called Connecting People Who Care.
Here's how it works, exactly how it sounds. We've chosen 3 nonprofits who utilize Cable Bahamas services: the Bahamas Red Cross, Hands for Hunger, and Bahamas Harvest Church. Each of these groups has chosen a hero within their organization. The organization and hero to receive the most votes will be eligible for 6 months of free services, and our hero will be eligible for $5,000 in cash and prizes.
For more information or to vote for the person or organization you love, visit rev.bs/Connecting People Who Care.
Our winner will be announced live on Facebook during the week of Thanksgiving.
This is our news. Welcome back. An emotional discovery for a Grand Bahama woman who lost her sister and 2 young nephews during Hurricane Dorian. The wedding dress she thought she'd lost during the killer storm was found and restored 2 years later. Kyle Joaquin has the story.
It started with a random vehicle pulling onto her driveway. But for Maydon Cooper Swan, a woman who lost so much when Hurricane Dorian struck 2 years ago, the return of something small but priceless brought her to tears.
I can't believe it. Huh? Look how pretty it turned out. Wow. It's beautiful. Wow. This is beautiful. There you go.
Swan, who survived Dorian in her home in Freeport, drove east to check on her sister and 2 young nephews. Unfortunately, they didn't make it. Months later, she went to the foundation of where her mother's home once stood and found her battered wedding dress clinging to bushes.
This is my wedding dress I found.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
You did not expect to find
No,
this.
I was not expecting to find it.
Dusty Adenoff of Project Strong Bahamas was there when Swan found the battered dress and remembers the scream she let out. She said she knew she had to do something.
We just kind of sat there and were in awe and decided, you know what, if there's any way at all that we could restore this, we would really love to, because it was one thing that was found on the property, and after everything being lost, we just thought it was something to at least attempt to try to do for her.
And so through him, we were able to touch so many lives and help so many people. And the dress is just, I mean, for me, it was just a representation of everything being wrapped up into something that was salvageable.
It's a moment Swan says she'll never forget as she holds her dress and her wedding photos.
I cannot even say, but thank you guys. You gave me some hope. You gave me something.
You're welcome.
You gave me something. Thank you guys so very much.
You're welcome.
I don't know how. I never thought I would see this dress again.
While she's grateful for this moment, Swan is brought to tears as she remembers her sister and her twin 3-year-old boys, Adam and Aaron, who they searched so hard to find.
We were going to rescue them. But we never found them. We went back again. Never found anything. We still, nothing, they just washed away.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Thanks, Kyle. Well, Kai Jones continues to play in the NBA preseason. Marcellus Hall has that and more tonight in sports.
All right, thanks, Christina, and welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Well, the NBA regular season is just around the corner. Meanwhile, preseason play continues. Kai Jones continuing to earn minutes, he hopes, once the regular season gets underway. Yesterday, they were in action. Let's take a look at his highlights. Just one of our NBA superstars in action last night as Kai Jones and the Charlotte Hornets were in action. And they took on the Miami Heat. Kai playing limited minutes in the preseason. Played 7 minutes, as a matter of fact. Finished up with 4 points, 1 rebound, and a blocked shot. Pretty good performance for him. Unfortunately, though, they come up on the losing side of things. Again, this is just preseason. Hornets go down 104-103. Meanwhile, Monday Night Football action rounding out another week of exciting action. And what a great game it was. Mike Strawn and his Indianapolis Colts suffering a tough loss. Led 25-7 in the late stretches. 25-9 in the late stretches. Saw that lead evaporate as they end up in a tie at the end of regulation, as Indianapolis Colts had a field goal blocked and another one missed that would have won it for them. They end up losing in overtime. Final score ends up in the favor of the Baltimore Ravens as they go on to win it in overtime. Again, like we said, disappointing loss for the Indianapolis Colts. They fall to 1-4 on the season as, again, the Ravens getting the job done. And there it is, a check on sports. Just before we get out of here, got to say happy birthday to a longtime fan, watches sports every night, Gloria Bullard, who is in Grand Bahamas celebrating 75 years young. Happy birthday to you. Keep watching. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you.
Thanks, Marcellus. Up next, Greg is back in the Weather Center, and we bid farewell to a member of the R News family. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our news. Are there more thunderstorms ahead? Greg is back with another look at weather.
Thanks again, Christina. Welcome back, everybody, for your second look at weather. The tropics a little quiet right now. We're watching an area down near the southeast Bahamas, broad trough of low pressure, with some showers and thunderstorms associated with that, mostly to the east of the islands. Most of that weather should stay to the east. Upper level low is interacting with that as well. So we could see some more showers and isolated thunderstorms across the northwest and central Bahamas, as well as the southeast Bahamas as the system pulls towards the north, merging with the frontal boundary by the end of the week. Tropical wave approaching the Leeward Islands, no organization with that system. And another one way out there in the open Atlantic, that also showing no signs of organization at this time. Beaching and boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds would be out of the northeast to east at 10 to 15 knots. They will fall light and variable at times. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. While in the central and southeast Bahamas, southeast to south winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be up to 4 to 6 feet in some slight swells. A look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Sunday. All's quiet in the tropics right now. One system that we're watching staying east of us. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Tonight, we bid farewell to a member of the R News family who's closing this chapter of his story. Here's to Jared Higgs.
Now, according to police, right now I'm in the parking lot of Abaco Groceries. Where else to start but the shocking killings of 5 juveniles that grabbed headlines? I'm Jared Higgs, coming up tonight on Our News. This is Jared Higgs, coming up tonight on Our News. Reporting for Our News here in Review, I'm Jared Higgs.
Thank you, Jared, for being a part of the R News family. We wish you all the best. And thank you for joining us for R News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.